The Young and the Restless spoilers Tucker's return, a reckoning in Genoa City. The air in Genoa City grew thick with tension as whispers of Tucker McCall's return spread like wildfire. Tucker's reappearance was always an event, but this time, it wasn't just business or family drama drawing him back, it was something far more personal. He had a mission, and it was one he intended to carry out with precision: expose Damian and Amy for the frauds they were and protect the people who mattered most. Tucker had spent years in Los Angeles, where he crossed paths with Damian and Amy long before they arrived in Genoa City. Back then, he had witnessed their manipulative and deceitful ways firsthand. Now, as he returned, Tucker knew they hadn't changed. If anything, their lies had grown bolder. And Tucker wasn't about to let them destroy the Winters family, or anyone else, without a fight. Damian's dark intentions. Damian had made himself at home in Genoa City, quickly ingratiating himself with Nate and the rest of the Winters family. His charm and seemingly earnest demeanor had disarmed most of them, except for Devin, whose skepticism remained unshaken. But behind Damian's polished exterior lay a far more sinister agenda. Not content with his fabricated role as Nate's long-lost brother, Damian had begun setting his sights on Audra, Nate's girlfriend. Audra, who had never truly loved Nate, found herself drawn to Damian's charisma. She knew it was wrong, but Damian's attentions fed into her insecurities, and she let herself be swept into his games. Damian, for his part, enjoyed the power play. To him, seducing Audra was just another way to assert dominance over Nate. It wasn't about love or connection, it was about control. Amy's calculated deceptions. Meanwhile, Amy worked tirelessly to maintain the facade she and Damian had built. She played the part of a grieving mother reconnecting with her long-lost son with practiced precision, winning the sympathy and trust of everyone around her. But Tucker knew the truth. He had seen the lengths Amy would go to for personal gain, and he wasn't fooled by her crocodile tears. Amy's real motivations were far from noble. She wanted a foothold in the Winters family, a way to secure financial and emotional leverage. And with Damian as her partner in crime, she was closer than ever to achieving her goals. Tucker's plan unfolds. Tucker's arrival in Genoa City was anything but subtle. He made no secret of his intentions to stay for an extended period, much to Damian and Amy's unease. From the moment they locked eyes with Tucker, they knew he was a threat. Tucker's piercing gaze and confident demeanor made it clear he wasn't just back for a family visit, he was here to expose their secrets. Damian tried to play it cool, but Tucker's presence rattled him. Amy, on the other hand, urged caution. "Stick to the plan," she told Damian in hushed tones. "Tucker can't prove anything if we don't slip up." But Tucker wasn't relying on mistakes. He had already started digging into Damian and Amy's past, reaching out to contacts in Los Angeles to unearth the evidence he needed. Slowly but surely, he pieced together a damning narrative of their schemes, from their fraudulent claims of family ties to their long history of manipulation and deceit. A shadow over the Winters family. As Tucker watched from the sidelines, he saw Damian's behavior grow bolder. The younger man's attempts to undermine Nate were becoming more transparent, and his flirtation with Audra had escalated. Nate, blinded by his trust in his newfound brother, remained oblivious to Damian's true nature. But Devin wasn't so easily fooled. "I don't trust him," Devin confided in Tucker one evening. "Something about Damian doesn't sit right with me. And Amy, she's too polished, too perfect. It feels like they're playing a role." Tucker nodded, his expression grim. "Your instincts are good, Devin. Keep your guard up. There's more to Damian and Amy than they're letting on." Devin frowned. "What do you know, Tucker? Why are you here?" Tucker hesitated, then decided it was time to give Devin a glimpse of the truth. "I knew them in Los Angeles," he admitted. "And trust me, they're not who they claim to be. But I need more proof before we can act. We have to be strategic about this." The ultimate test. Tucker's patience paid off when Damian and Amy made their next move. They began planting seeds of doubt about Nate and Devin within the Winters family, trying to create division and chaos. But Tucker was ready. He had spent weeks gathering evidence, and now he had everything he needed to expose their lies. One evening, Tucker confronted Damian in private. "You're not Nate's brother," he said, his voice cold and cutting. "And I'm going to prove it." Damian's confident mask slipped for a moment, replaced by a flash of panic. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said defensively. "Nate and I share the same blood." Tucker smirked. "Then let's do a DNA test, shall we? If you're so confident, you won't mind a little verification." Damian hesitated, and Tucker knew he had struck a nerve. The truth was, Damian and Amy had falsified the DNA test results that had convinced everyone of their connection to Nate. And now, their carefully constructed house of cards was beginning to collapse. A reckoning looms. Tucker's return to Genoa City was more than just a reunion, it was a storm that threatened to uproot everything Damian and Amy had built. As the walls closed in on them, Damian and Amy scrambled to maintain their lies, but Tucker's resolve was unshakable. He had come to protect the Winters family, and he wouldn't rest until the truth was exposed. Would Damian and Amy's deception finally be revealed? Would Nate and Devon realize the danger they were in before it was too late? And most importantly, could Tucker deliver justice without tearing the family apart in the process? One thing was certain, Tucker's return was a game-changer, and Genoa City would never be the same. This version builds a suspenseful narrative while keeping the focus on Tucker's mission, Damian and Amy's schemes, and the stakes for the Winters family. Let me know if you'd like to refine or expand any part further. Damian and Amy's desperate move. Damian paced the living room of the modest apartment he shared with Amy in Genoa City. His mind raced as he replayed Tucker's words, his thinly veiled threat to expose them for the frauds they were. Tucker knew too much. If they didn't act quickly, everything they'd worked for, their carefully woven lies, their grand schemes, would unravel. Amy sat on the couch, her expression sharp with annoyance. "We have to deal with him," she said firmly, her voice low but intense. "Tucker McCall isn't someone we can ignore. He has the connections, the resources, and worst of all, the motivation to ruin us." Damian nodded, his jaw clenched. "But he also has weaknesses," he said, his voice laced with calculation. "Tucker's relationship with Devon is rocky at best. They hate each other. Maybe we can use that to our advantage." Amy tilted her head, intrigued. "What are you thinking?" Damian smirked. "We offer him a deal, something irresistible. If Tucker agrees to stay out of our way and keep his mouth shut, we promise him a significant cut of whatever we take from Nate." Amy leaned forward, a glint of approval in her eyes. "He's greedy enough to consider it. But do you think he'll take the bait?" Damian shrugged. "It doesn't matter if he does or doesn't. If Tucker refuses, we'll move to Plan B." Amy arched a brow. "And Plan B is?" Damian's smile turned cold. "We make sure he doesn't have a choice." The proposal. Tucker wasn't surprised when Damian approached him a few days later. He had been expecting something like this, a desperate attempt to manipulate him into silence. But he didn't expect Damian to be so bold. The two men met at a secluded bar on the outskirts of town, far from prying eyes. Tucker leaned back in his chair, swirling his whiskey as Damian laid out the proposition. "You and Devon aren't exactly on good terms," Damian began smoothly. "And from what I hear, you've never been the type to play the selfless father. So, here's the deal, keep quiet about what you know, let us handle Nate, and once everything's said and done, you'll get a significant cut of the payout." Tucker raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. "And how much is significant?" Damian leaned forward, his tone confident. "Enough to make it worth your while. Let's just say you'd be set for life." Tucker studied Damian for a moment, the young man's arrogance almost amusing. He set his glass down and leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "You think I care about the money," he said, his voice calm but cutting. "You think that's what this is about?" Damian frowned. "Isn't it?" Tucker smirked. "Let me make one thing clear, Damian. I may not get along with Devon, but he's still my son. If you think I'm going to stand by and let you scam him and Nate out of their lives, you're more delusional than I thought. Damian's confidence faltered, but he quickly recovered. If you expose us, you'll destroy any chance of reconciling with Devon. He'll never forgive you for letting this happen under your nose. Tucker laughed dryly. Do you honestly think Devon and I have anything left to reconcile? That bridge burned a long time ago. And unlike you, I don't need to con my way into a family. The threat realizing the deal wasn't working, Damian's demeanor shifted. His smile turned icy, his voice dropping to a dangerous tone. Careful, Tucker. You wouldn't want to make us your enemies. Tucker chuckled, unfazed. Is that supposed to scare me? You and Amy may have fooled a few people in Genoa City, but you're amateurs compared to me. You think I've survived this long without dealing with bigger threats than you? Damian's jaw tightened. We're giving you an opportunity to walk away with something. If you refuse, then what? Tucker interrupted, his eyes narrowing. You'll take me out? Go ahead and try. But let me warn you, if you come for me, you'd better make sure I don't get back up. Because if I do, there won't be a corner of this planet where you'll be safe. Damian glared at Tucker, his frustration mounting. He had underestimated the older man's resilience, and now he was cornered. But he wasn't ready to give up yet. You've made your point, Damian said through gritted teeth. But don't think this is over. Tucker smirked. Oh, I know it's not over. But trust me when I say this, Damian, you're playing a dangerous game, and you're not nearly as clever as you think. Back to the drawing board when Damian returned to the apartment, Amy was waiting, her arms crossed and her expression impatient. Well, she asked. Did he take the deal? Damian shook his head, his frustration evident. No. He's too stubborn. He won't take the money, and he won't stay quiet. Amy sighed, her annoyance clear. Then we moved to Plan B. Damian hesitated. Plan B is risky. Amy's gaze hardened. Risky, but necessary. If Tucker won't play along, we have to neutralize him. Permanently. Damian swallowed hard, knowing she was right. Tucker McCall was a threat they couldn't afford to ignore. And if they wanted to secure their future, they would have to eliminate him, one way or another. The final standoff, unbeknownst to Damian and Amy, Tucker had anticipated their next move. He knew they wouldn't back down, and he was ready for whatever they had planned. With his connections and resources, he began laying a trap, one that would expose Damian and Amy's lies for all to see. As tensions escalated, Genoa City braced itself for the fallout. The truth about Damian and Amy's deception was on the verge of being revealed, and when it was, there would be no going back. For Tucker, this wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. And he wouldn't rest until the Winters family was free from Damian and Amy's manipulative grasp. This continuation sets up a high-stakes confrontation between Tucker and Damian/Amy, weaving in the tension of their conflicting motives and the looming threat of exposure. Let me know if you'd like further developments or adjustments.